Hello, I am Michael Decker from Bowling Green State University, and I will be presenting a Journal First paper entitled srcDiff, a syntactic differencing approach to improve the understandability of deltas. This paper is work I did with Michael Collard at the University of Akron and Gwen Volkert and Jonathan Miletic from Kent State University. First, let's briefly talk about syntactic differencing approaches. Syntactic differencing approaches view the source code as an abstract syntax tree. Syntactic differencing approaches then aim to compute the shortest edit script on that tree. That is, the minimal number of edits to nodes to transform the original tree into the modified tree. But there are problems with this approach. Information such as whitespace, comments, and preprocessor directives are generally lost when generating an AST, or ignored completely when computing the delta. Additionally, the approaches do not take full advantage of the language syntax. For example, the syntax is usually only incorporated as part of the node type. Lastly, a major position of this paper is that purely computing the shortest edit tree distance does not equal developers' changes and is the wrong approach to take. So, why is this the case? First, an AST repeatedly uses the same nodes. For instance, nodes denoting a declaration statement, a type, or even the same text tokens frequently appear as we use the same syntactic elements and identifiers frequently. When computing the shortest edit script, it is more optimal to match any given node or text that happens to be the same. This is especially bad when code is rewritten or replaced, where a delta ends up as a large number of small and meaningless edits that are disconnected with the programmer's view of the code change. Let's show an example. This example is from a revision of Hadoop. In one of the commits, the top method, which is a predicate method, is deleted, and the bottom get method is inserted in its place. When an approach that computes minimal edit script is applied to this commit, you get the following. The top method should be reported as completely deleted and the bottom completely inserted. Instead, we get many small, meaningless changes that occur only because the same syntactic nodes are present. For example, the equals identifier in the top method is matched to xadder_ns in the bottom method, only because they are both identifiers. Now, replacing a method is not the most frequent change. However, once we go down to the statement level or below, this occurs much more frequently. To solve this, we came up with a syntactic differencing approach based on sourceML. The approach is lossless, as it reports changes to all comments, whitespace, and preprocessor directives. Instead of purely computing a minimal edit script, it deviates purposefully and applies differencing rules to determine what are matching nodes and when to refine changes further. These rules incorporate domain knowledge on differencing, which take additional fuller advantage of the language syntax. Here is an example source code change modified from a revision to K-Office to fit the screen in the coming slides. In this commit, the statement in the original is wrapped with an if statement and the identifier widget is renamed to options. Here is sourceML marked up with edits as produced by srcDiff. Deletes are wrapped with a diff delete tag, here shown in red, and inserts are wrapped with a diff insert tag, here shown in green. Common code is wrapped with a diff common tag. The if statement is wrapped with a diff insert tag, its body is then wrapped with a diff common tag, and finally the old identifier text is marked as deleted with a diff delete tag, and the new text is marked as inserted with a diff insert tag. This format is used for differencing analysis, but simply removing the tags and applying the coloring will get you one of srcDiff's human readable outputs, as shown here. For comparison, the left side is a line difference of the changes that ignores whitespace, and the right is the srcDiff unified output. srcDiff works by performing a simultaneous pre-order traversal on both the original and modified ASTs, and then iteratively refining changes until the desired granularity is reached. As it traverses, when it finds a matching node between the original and modified trees, a sequence differencing algorithm is applied to children of the matching nodes. Purely inserted or deleted nodes are directly output, but if there's a change, that is, a delete and insert that occurs at the same position, it is analyzed to see if one is a newer version of the other, one belongs inside as a child of the other, which we call nested, or if they are just entirely deleted and inserted. What to categorize it as is determined by the rules we developed. To illustrate this, here is a simplified original and modified tree of a declaration statement. In the change, the programmer inserted an extern specifier and replaced the literal 42 with an identifier answer. Starting with the DECL statement node as match, we run a sequence difference on their children, as shown here. Of note, the comparison here is a complete subtree comparison. The results of applying a sequence differencing algorithm are shown here. Red means delete and green means insert. The specifier only exists in the modified tree, and there are no deletes in the same location, so the algorithm identifies it as inserted. The init is marked both deleted and inserted. As this is in the same spot, it is a change and we need to analyze it further. Is the inserted node a newer version of the deleted? Is one a child of the other? Or is the original completely deleted and the modified completely inserted? Once again, this is where our rules are applied. These rules are derived from the grammar of the language, empirical and statistical analysis of software, as well as the experience of expert developers. There are three main types. When we consider a change to be a match, a particular form of match we call convertibility, which is used, for example, to determine if a for statement can be changed into a while statement, and nesting, which determines if one node should be a child of the other. Additionally, incorporated by all the rules is a set of similarity rules. Here is a list of the match category rules and the nodes that apply to them. I will briefly explain the name match rule. This is an example of a name match rule on declaration statements. The rule states that if the name of the original and modified entity is the same, we consider it a match no matter how different they are. In this example, although semantically equivalent, all textual tokens except mdocument are different. So this might be considered separate declaration statements. However, since the name matches, srcDiff identifies them as the same declaration statement and performs more finer-grained differencing. The end result is that srcDiff reports only the identifier is renamed and the pointer deleted. In extensions to srcDiff made after the work done in this paper, when outputting a human-readable view, srcDiff can also perform a character diff on identifier text. This is only done when the edits are consecutive or not too many. In this case, and for the example, a developer can see that, for the identifier, only PTR is inserted. We evaluated the approach via a user study of 69 participants on 14 change samples. We compared GitHub, Mergerly, and Gumtree to srcDiff. The results show that srcDiff was more accurate, understandable, readable, and preferable than all other approaches. In conclusion, pure shortest tree edit distance does not match developers' changes and does not work solely as a heuristic. We developed a set of differencing rules based on how developers change and perceive change. And finally, we were able to show in our experiment that srcDiff is more accurate, readable, understandable, and preferable. Questions?